The Atlantic Convoys, a diary of war at sea. This narrative is sponsored by Polly Speaks For You. The creator of Polly Speaks For You has always been passionate about empowering individuals, especially those with disabilities or learning challenges, through text-to-speech and voice recognition technology. Polly Speaks For You isn't just a tool. It's a bridge for people to communicate and interact with the world in a meaningful way. By blending historical storytelling with cutting-edge tech, the creator showcases how powerful a voice can be, whether telling your own story or preserving history. So hit that like, share, and subscribe button and help this channel grow. Now back to the story. By Captain Edward Ted Harrison, HMS Valiant, 1941 to 1945. September 12, 1941, the start of a long war. At sea, somewhere in the North Atlantic. We left Halifax yesterday. The sea is restless today, but so are the men. The convoy stretches ahead of us in a staggered line. A string of 40 merchant vessels, all bound for Britain, their holds packed with grain, munitions, fuel, and the things that keep a country fighting when the nights are black and long. We escort them, as always. HMS Valiant, my beloved destroyer, leads our small band of Royal Navy ships. 3 destroyers, 2 corvettes, and an old sloop barely keeping up with the rest. The Germans are out there somewhere, lurking beneath the surface. The men whisper about wolfpacks, the dreaded U-boat formations that prowl the waters. It's my duty to keep morale up, to pretend we have all the answers. But the truth is we never know when or where they'll strike. Lieutenant Adams told me about his conversation with the cook last night. The poor man, rattled from a previous attack, asked if the Germans would really target unarmed merchant ships. Of course they would, Adams replied, a forced laugh following his words. The sinking of the Athenia back in '39, right at the beginning of this nightmare, proved that no ship was safe. Civilians, cargo, crew, it makes no difference to the U-boats. September 15th, 1941, the first attack. North Atlantic, 200 miles off the Irish coast. We spotted them at dawn. 2 U-boats surfaced briefly to catch the early morning light. We barely had time to react before they vanished beneath the waves. The alarm was sounded, and the convoy began zigzagging, trying to make our escort's job easier. But U-boats don't need daylight to kill. They wake. It wasn't even an hour later when the first torpedo struck. I was on the bridge when I saw the plume of water erupt from the stern of the SS Ulysses, one of the larger cargo ships in the convoy. She was loaded with fuel, and she caught fire almost immediately. We turned hard to port, speeding towards the stricken ship. I could hear the screams of men in the water before we even arrived. Adams led the rescue. They pulled about 20 men aboard, but the Ulysses was lost, sinking beneath the waves within minutes. The U-boats didn't attack us directly, but we knew they were watching. Waiting. The worst part? There are still weeks ahead of us before we reach the safety of British waters. October 10th, 1941, a near miss. Approaching the British Isles. Tonight, we had a scare I won't soon forget. The SS Montrose, one of our fastest freighters, spotted a periscope just before dusk. We immediately went to full alert, sonar sweeping the water below us, but nothing showed up. For hours, we sailed in nervous silence. Every sailor's eye scanning the black horizon. We knew the U-boat was close. Just after midnight, the Montrose suddenly veered hard to port. She'd spotted a torpedo coming straight for her. It missed by a hair, slicing through the water and disappearing into the darkness. I thank God tonight. We dodged disaster, but it's clear the Germans are getting bolder. They're hunting us. Hey, it feels like a game of cat and mouse, but this is a game with lives at stake. January 6th, 1942, Reminiscences over tea. Scotland, Port of Glasgow. We've arrived in Glasgow, battered but alive. There's a sense of relief, but also a strange melancholy among the men. Over tea, I sat with the other officers, each of us silent, lost in thought for a while. Commander Thompson, the captain of the HMS Valor, shared stories of the old convoys in the early days of the war. He'd lost 2 ships under his command already. You never forget the sound, he said, voice low. The screech of the metal giving way when a torpedo hits the rush of water. the smell of oil burning. The worst part is knowing not everyone makes it off the ship. You can't save them all. Thompson's hands shook a little as he spoke, but he hid it well. I didn't pry. We all have our ghosts from this war. February 14th, 1942, sailing orders, the Murmansk run. Command orders for Convoy PQ-12. To all escort ships. Your mission is to escort Convoy PQ-12 from Reykjavik to Murmansk. Intelligence reports indicate heavy enemy presence in the Arctic region. Expect surface attacks from German naval units, including the battleship Tirpitz, as well as U-boat activity. Your orders are as follows. 1. Maintain constant radar and sonar surveillance. 2. Keep the convoy formation tight. Stragglers will be left behind if necessary for the safety of the group. 3. Air cover will be limited. Adjust your tactics accordingly. 4. If attacked by surface ships, use smoke screens and evasive maneuvers. Prioritize the safety of the convoy. 5. In case of U-boat attack, depth charges are to be deployed immediately. Corvettes will take point in anti-submarine defense. Godspeed, and remember, the lives of these merchant crews depend on your vigilance. Signed, Admiral John Dalrymple, Royal Navy, _ March 2nd, 1942, the Murmansk run. Arctic waters, 150 miles from Murmansk. The Arctic is a different kind of beast. The cold here bites deeper than any torpedo ever could. Ice floes surround us, creaking and groaning under the weight of the convoy. It's eerie how silent it can be. Then, without warning, the horizon lights up with the northern lights, an unexpected gift in this frozen hell. The men are exhausted. The U-boats have shadowed us since we left Reykjavik, but so far, we've managed to dodge their attacks. Last night, the corvette HMS Arctic Rose had a close call. They dropped depth charges after sonar picked up movement beneath them. The explosion rocked our ship too, and we waited with bated breath. But no confirmation of a kill. The real danger, though, is still ahead, the Luftwaffe. Intelligence says they know we're coming. March 5th, 1942, the Luftwaffe strikes. Near Murmansk, Arctic Circle. It happened at dawn, just as we thought we were in the clear. The first planes came screaming out of the morning mist, dive bombers, their engines roaring like banshees. Our anti-aircraft guns lit up the sky. I saw one bomber spiral into the sea, but not before releasing its payload. 2 merchant ships were hit. One of them, the SS Bering, went up in flames. We fought them off, but the cost was high. The Arctic Rose took a direct hit and sank within minutes. We couldn't stop to search for survivors. The ice and cold are merciless. Any man in the water wouldn't last long. March 7th, 1942, safe harbor in Murmansk. Murmansk, Soviet Union. We limped into Murmansk this morning, the convoy reduced by half. The Soviets greeted us with vodka and blankets. But the faces of the men tell the true story. Exhaustion, loss, relief. We survived the Murmansk run, but at what cost? As we disembarked, I caught sight of a Soviet officer standing near the docks, looking out over the ice-choked harbor. He nodded to me, a gesture of respect. No words were exchanged, but I knew what he meant. We fought for our lives, and we won this time. The Atlantic convoys are more than just the movement of supplies. They are a battle of endurance, where every wave hides an enemy, and every mile is a test of courage. We sail again soon, knowing that our work is never done. The ocean always waits, and so do the U-boats. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. To learn more about South Africa's leading accessibility software, visit www.polispeaks4u.co.za and support this meaningful dyslexic initiative. Thank you for watching.